Welcome, and thanks for joining us today to talk portal components. We are going to get into team introductions in just a moment, but first let's take a quick overview of today's agenda. Basically, in our dive deeper today, we are going to talk the features and benefits of express portals. We're going to talk about what kinds of portal components that you can find and deconstruct in your clean slate environment. We're going to spend a significant amount of time talking through how to build a number of custom components and really then kind of how you can all tie them together into your portal development, your portal maintenance, and to a certain extent expansion of portal functionality throughout any and all of your instances amongst many of your users. But before we dive into that, just a quick intro to the Parish Group. So the Parish Group is actually one of the longest tenured full-service higher education marketing firms in the industry. We have been supporting our partner institutions for over 38 years now. Our roots began with ink and paper and photography, over time spread into student search and digital marketing, and as Slate has really entrenched itself so deeply into higher education, our services have to a certain extent also followed suit. So we not only offer Slate support as a solution in and of itself, we also really strive to weave our longstanding services into and under the Slate umbrella. The team that you're going to be hearing from today is our dedicated Slate team, and just as a general philosophy, we like to focus on the practical, the functional, and the innovative utilization of Slate, really just to help institutions do their work better. So I'm Marcus Webb. I'm the Vice President of Enrollment Analytics and Chief Slate Strategist here at the Parish Group. I split about the first decade or so of my career in higher education between public and private liberal arts institutions, supporting various and sundry strategic enrollment management initiatives, and then the last 5 years or so in consulting services here with the Parish Group, primarily building TPG's Slate support structure and team. And though I ashamedly started my CRM implementation experience with products that shall not be named, I have been a Slate user since 2017. And with that, I will hand it over to Katie.
Hello, I am Katie Jordan, the Senior Director of Slate Strategies with the Parish Group. I have been active in Slate since 2014. Something really fun is that this is my 15th Technolutions approved webinar / presentation. So kind of just straight up bragging there, but I counted and I'm really hyped about that. In my free time, I do co-lead the New England Slate Users Group. So if you are around that area, come hang out with us. We're very fun. And I also believe in the best part of presenting is making people look at my dogs. So behold.
Awesome. I'm Malyn Pickett, Senior Director of Slate Support here at TPG. Also been a Slate user for over a decade with experience in admissions, advancement, and student success. So excited to be here.
And now that you know who we are and our roadmap for today, let's dive in. So we're going to get started with some definitions and some use cases. So what are express portals? They are designed to minimize the technical work that goes into building a portal. They're accessing their database. Can you hear the so mentioned dog screaming? Oh well. Searching for express portals. They offer all the same scopes and security options as portals, but they focus on the view only rather than needing to create queries and methods as well. There's a number of places in Slate where an express portal can be used. For the first 4 examples here, dedicated event portals, assignment lists and cadences, customized person dashboards, and concierge, those are exclusively express portals in Slate right now. On top of that, they can also be used anywhere that a standard portal can be used. I do want to say that express portals are kind of having a moment right now. At Summit 2025, it was announced that Slate AI, my preferred SlayI that has not yet caught on, would be supporting the build of express portals. So express portals became even faster because now, on top of only needing one view, you can just ask Slate AI to build one. There's pros and cons to this. I think it can really empower users, but I also think that it can be a little bit of a slippery slope. For example, I built this portal in about 2 minutes. There's no really branding guidelines on it other than what I set in Slate AI. You can see my highly cultivated prompts that I used on the side. And I think this is giving me just a scooch too much power. And so that is where components come in. Originally introduced as part of Deliver Designer, components are building blocks with guidelines on them. They allow for customization and personalization within preset choices to have a very clean and sustainable experience. So Express Portal components and Deliver Designer components do need to be built separately, but Express Portal components can be reused anywhere that an Express Portal can be implemented. And with that, let's dive into exploring components. So first, I'm a huge advocate for Clean Slate and making use of the resources in there. In case you're not familiar, Clean Slate is a free resource developed by Technolutions in order to showcase best practice builds, inspiration across all the modules, and a whole bunch of suitcaseful items. It is reached through database, test, and other environments, Clean Slate, and then either launching environment if you've already got it loaded, or needing to provision the admission showcase. Surprise, we are going to start with looking at an Express portal. From here, we can click on Components on the right-hand side and see a list of all components already available in Clean Slate. We have a lot of options, and so something I do want to mention is that if you're able to access components in Express portals, you can use all of the components, and there are not additional limitations or control over who can use and see what. So with that, I'm going to be using the basic button as my foundation for examples today. When I select it on the list, I can see that I have 4 options to choose from in order to build the button. So I've selected a left-aligned button, labeled it Call to Action, primary color scheme, and medium. And you can kind of see how all of this comes together in the preview on the left. So using the exact same component, I can build a very different basic button. Now, it's on the right in the secondary color scheme, and it's bigger. Something else to notice is that while 3 of my options are select lists, I can put any text that I want to onto the button itself. There's some limitations, right? I can't add a link to this button, and you'll also notice that without previewing the button, I don't actually know what primary and secondary color schemes look like. So that's the user experience. I have these preset options that my Slate Captain built, and while I as a user can customize, I can't actually add anything. I'm relying on those builds to have everything that I need in them. This is very much a plug for captains to test components before unleashing them, and also asking for feedback along the way. But something fun is components do update in real time. So if as the captain you add a variable, change a name, update options, it will be available on all portals where you've already used that component. This is super helpful if you forget something, but it also means that you'll have a really nice, easy time updating everything in our suitcase today to be to your branding. So that gives us the value and the use case of components. Let's get into how to build them. So we're going to navigate to portal components from database, and here we can see the back end of the list that we had earlier. Sticking with our example of the basic button, we're going to select that and be able to see a preview of the standard button without any customization. If we then edit the component, we'll see the variable list on the side, as well as the options to save, cancel, and also view. If we go into the source, we can see where all of the magic happens. So this is a standard button with class variables being determined through selection on merge fields. I'm going to step away from this example to show a before and an after of transforming my preferred button code into a component. This is a standard normal button. It is going to a Parish Group request for info form. It says get information, classic slate blue with white font. And the preview then shows exactly what we are expecting. So how do we take that and turn it into a component? I like to start by thinking about what I want to be able to control as a variable. And for me, I want to have a selectable background color, font color, URL, and text on the button. So starting with background color, in our source, it's already set to BG color is 00669E. And I'm going to change that to the merge field background. We then click on New Variable and define it. And this is where we can bring in our institutional colors and also make sure that they have a human eyeball friendly name. Very similar process for having a changeable text color. We update from the color of white to be the merge field font color and then define the variable options. And I'm just going to pause myself here to note that this is my preferred way to build by starting with code that I know that I like and updating it. I'm not building this from scratch, but I copied and pasted from a standard code that I've used in other places in my instance, and I'm just putting in different options. So the button label and the URL are going to be a little bit different because we want to give more control in this case. I don't want to be responsible for maintaining a select list of all URLs or all possible options that a button text could set. So we're going to build our next two variables as open text. Other options are an existence yes, no, or the ability to put in a number. So we transform the static URL into a merge field of URL and then build our component. I'm going to use a default here of our standard website just to be on the safe side. You may also want to use a description to note things like if www needs to be included or if that's already built into your code. And then we have a very similar process for the button label. If we put all of this together, we can once again see how it really shapes out in the Express portal. I've made two very different experiences with the same options. And this is the overall look at how we moved from our starting code of a button into a component. There's always more we can do with this. In this example, we can add some of the enhancements from the Technolutions Clean Slate, like the layout orientation of the left, center, and right, or the size aspect. But for today, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Malyn for her to share the incredibly cool components she has built out.
Awesome. Thanks, Katie. Like Katie said, Clean Slate has some great portal components to get you started. We have built out a few more that we're going to take some time to walk through today. Like anything in Slate, there are many portal components that you can create, and there are many ways to set those up. I really like portal components because they help to empower non-technical users who may not be as familiar or comfortable with HTML or CSS to still create engaging content while following brand guidelines that have been set by the Slate super users. They also ensure and promote consistency across portals within your instance. Because the same component can be reused across multiple portals, institutions can ensure a consistent look, feel, and functionality across different types of portals. So we're going to start by looking at a switchable navigation tab component. When thinking about building portals, one of the first things that I like to think about is the user experience and how we want to present that information to the end user. Oftentimes, this includes using tabs within a portal. So this first portal that we'll walk through allows Slate users to simply drag and drop the component and select the type of tabs that they would like, whether it be vertical or horizontal. And then they'll be able to select a few other component settings as well. So let's take a look at the build of this component. We built this component to use 4 tabs. However, that can be adjusted or modified however you choose. Within our source code, we are setting the orientation of the tabs by using the tabs variable. If you can go to the next slide, Katie. Our tab variable is a select list with options of either horizontal or vertical. Similarly, we are setting our tab color by using our tab color variable. Here, you'll see that we are following that same select list options that Katie kind of laid out for us, where the Slate user will see the color name to make it more user-friendly, but the code will use that hex code or the color code seen after the caret. Finally, we are building out our tabs. giving them labels and ensuring that they load the proper tab correctly within the label variable and the view variables. These are all string variables. A couple notes about your view variables. Your view variables should all be entered in computer-friendly language. And your view variables will want to match your portal method actions, which we'll look at here in a second. So if we use this component within our portal, like I said, we'll drag and drop our component. And once we have that switchable navigation tab selected, we'll see the configured component pop up, where we'll enter in all of these settings that we just discussed. We'll then ensure that our view variables match our portal method actions. What we end up with in the portal is pre-built tabs that you can begin creating your content on. The next component that we're going to talk about is accordions. These are a great way to use accordions across multiple places while, again, ensuring that brand consistency. So first thing we're doing is we are setting our accordion color with the accordion color variable. Surprise, again, we are showing that Slate user the color name while the code is using the color code. Next, we are building out our accordions using the header and the content variables. These are all string variables. Keep in mind that we built this to support up to 7 accordions, but this can be modified however you'd like to use it. Accordion 1 will always show, but accordions 2 through 7 have some liquid markup around them. We are looking to see if a header row exists for 2 through 7. If so, the accordion will display, and if not, we are hiding that row. This makes it very user-friendly and easy to use across different portals that may have different requirements. So if we put this to use within an Express portal, we will drag in our component and configure our component settings. A fun thing about components is that they support dynamic content, meaning that we can use both content blocks and merge fields in them. In our example here, you will see that we are using a content block for content 1 and both a merge field and a content block in content 2. This is great because natively there are character count limitations in the string variables, but by using content blocks, we're able to support that longer form content within our components. Once built, you'll be left with a fully functioning accordion within your portal. The next component that we're going to talk about is an embedded video component. We actually built 2 versions of this component. One uses mainly string variables, whereas the other uses mainly select list variables. Using select list variables will limit the options that the Slate user can select, ensuring that videos, call to actions, and links have all been approved. Using free text or string variables will allow the user to have more freedom in the videos and the links that they use. Today, we're going to walk through how to use the component that uses mostly select list variables. So again, first we are setting the color of our button. This looks very similar to what we have seen before, where it is friendly to the user, and then the code is looking at what is after the caret. And for this specifically, we are using a gradient. Within our iframe, we are using the embedded video variable to bring in the video link. Just a note here, avoid using any shortened links for your video links here. And then our call to action link sets the link to be used within the button. The text of the button is set by the call to action variable, which is a string. It's not a string. It's another prompt list, I'm sorry. And finally, the description or the blurb that is shown next to the video is a string variable. Can you go one more slide? I'm sorry. Perfect. When we bring this component into a portal, everything is a select list with the exception of that video description. where again, you are able to use merge fields and content blocks. Once configured, you are left with something that looks like this. Again, we use a component that uses primarily the prompt list variables, but the other version that is mostly string variables works very similarly. Our next variable, we took one out of Taylor Swift's book, and we are building a countdown component. These are great for both student portals and user portals. So first, we are bringing in the event name with a string variable. The name variable sits between two optional emoji variables. Lastly, we are using our event date and time variable to set the countdown timer. Our countdown will calculate days, hours, minutes, and seconds. The event date and time variable is string, and it can use a variety of formatting, as seen here on the screen. When we use this component in a portal, our configuration settings will look something like this. In this example, we are choosing to only use one emoji after the event name, and we're using that month, day, year format. In the portal, we're left with a fun countdown. We've used merge fields and we've used content blocks, but you can also use liquid markup within these variables. So if you want your countdown to support various dates for the remainder of the year, you can do that using some liquid markup, looking at the current date merge field. This next one is a fun one. Maybe you have an important announcement that you want your applicants to see, an upcoming deadline, a reminder to register for an event, or an update to an event location. This alert banner can be used to easily share timely updates right in your portal, ensuring that applicants or end users never miss key information. So we start by setting the colors that we want to use for the alert. These are all using select list variables like we have seen before. Next, we use our alert language variable to bring in the message that you would like displayed on your banner. This is a string variable. When we use this in a portal, we can configure our component settings. Keep in mind that you're able to use merge fields, content blocks, and liquid markup within your alert variable to make this dynamic. And then when you are left, you're left with a fun alert that end users can close with the close icon if they choose to. Next, we have a contact rep image component. This component is a great way to bring in images from your image library. Our example here is using our representative image that we have within our library, but you can use this for any type of image within your database. For this, we are bringing in an image from our Slate image library. So we have hard-coded the folder that we are looking at, and we use the contact image variable to bring in the specific image that we like. This is a select list where the Slate user will see something very user-friendly, and what is after the caret is the image name within the library. The image width variable sets the width or the size of the image within your portal. And lastly, we have a string variable for the image link, which links the image to a web page. And this is an optional variable. If we set this up within our portal, you can see that the user-friendly prompt list for the contact image exists and the full image link is being used. Once configured, your component would look something like this. And lastly, we have a progress bar. This is a fantastic way to show users how much they have completed or a percentage to a goal that your team has set. Within our loading bar fill class is where we are configuring most of our settings within the source code. We start by setting the width that the bar is filled to, with our status bar fill variable. This is a text variable, but you will notice that our default is a merge field of fill. This is where, or this will be important as we set up our portal here in a little bit. We are setting the color of our status bar fill with the color variable. This should look familiar by now. And you can give your progress bar a label with the title variable. Next to the title, we are using that fill variable again to show the percent to completion. Now that we have the component set up, let's go add it to a portal real quick. Our first step within the portal will be to add the fill export to either a query in your portal or as an as an export in your Express portal. Using an Express portal as our example, we are going to add an export and name it fill. Here we have a formula that calculates the percentage of how complete an application's checklist is using those subquery exports. And then you can adjust these obviously to be whatever you want your progress bar to reflect. Once we have our export added, we can add in the component to our portal. Because we named our export fill, the only two variables that you need to adjust or update are the color and the title variables. Once added, you're left with a progress bar that looks something like this. Now I'm going to pass it over to Marcus, who is going to walk through some practical use cases of these components.
Much appreciated, Malyn, and boom for all of those beautifully well-crafted pieces that you just put together. And now that we have so many of these really functional tools at our disposal, let's just talk a little bit about how to use them. What are some of our use cases for portal components? Should we build new portals with them? Should we supplement existing portals? Can we use them in Express portals and regular portals? Yes is pretty much the short answer to all of those questions. Portal components are really efficient and functional tools pretty much anywhere that you portal, even though that isn't technically a verb. We're going to make it a verb today. So your creativity is really the primary limit anyway to their use. So you'll often see them pulled into event portals where some of the components that Malyn just kind of displayed, or some of the ones that were in the clean slate display that Katie walked through initially. Your registration blocks, countdown timers, video embeds. So think like, if you can't sign up for a tour, embed a video for your virtual tour, those kinds of things in event portals. You'll often see components utilized in status portals. That's where those progress to app completion components really come in use. Your navigation tabs for when you are transitioning between multi-tab portals, whether that's across the top header or on the left-hand align as well. And then, of course, variable staff assign blocks. And then FAQ accordions, all those kinds of things that you're normally going to see in an applicant status portal. Congratulations videos for admits, those kinds of things as well. And then in internal dashboard portals, so for, say, report portals that counselors are using for territory management, where you're going to see alert notifications in progress to goal bars and those kinds of things are really frequent uses for some of these kind of components in various and sundry portals throughout an instance, both internal and public facing. So really their use cases are pretty darn widespread. And in a pinch, with a wide enough library of portal components, you can more or less build a full-fledged portal with portal components alone. So that, or I should say maybe at least get enough clay on the wheel for a significantly faster build. So let's take a quick look actually at building a basic open house portal using just a handful of the lovely components that Malyn has created for us. So first thing, we're going to start with an Express portal. We're going to add a new view for the open house page. We're going to go ahead and drag in a countdown timer component. We're going to add a couple of celebratory emojis to flank it. We're going to add our start and date time, event name, font color selection variable, and boom, we've got a countdown. Then we're going to grab a personalized header component. We're going to select our gradient and our header image from the pre-built select list. This is going to leave us with our existing merge fields in place, and that's going to give us our header. We're going to throw in an alert component that's going to hold the primary call to action function. We're going to select our background color. We're going to fill in string variables for our labels, our destination links, our tagline, and our date. We're going to let that happen in real magical time. And now we have our primary CTA component. And then lastly, we're going to add an accordion component for a few of our kind of open house FAQs as people are navigating and determining whether they should come to TPG open house. Here we're going to add mostly our string variables for questions and answer content between our headers and our responses. We're going to answer some of those age-old questions like, what will I do at open house? Why should I come? When is it over? And particularly with the when is it over question, much like checking into Hotel California, TPG open house never ends. And in just under 2 minutes, we've got a basic, branded, and functional open house event registration portal using nothing but a handful of portal components. But wait, don't like it in TPG Blue? With a couple of simple clicks into the select list variables that Malyn put in place for us and graciously provided in TPG branded colors, our portal can now be TPG Orange in just a couple of seconds without really having to go into the source code at all or track down a single hex code to place anywhere in your code. It's simply a couple of select options for predefined select list variables that she put in place. Really beyond that, if you or your team already have really extensively coded and branded standard portals, so not express portals, that are in use across your instance, you can still tap into portal components for enhancements there too. So think, adding a May 1 countdown timer into your custom app status portal or something of that like. You can simply insert a new component into a new row without touching any of your existing code. So it's a relatively easy peasy sort of add-on to what may be a nicely branded portal that you don't necessarily need to deconstruct and rebuild. Some of the other places to consider portal component development that are pretty timely and relevant to some of our newer feature releases as well. If you're beginning to dabble with updating the standard person dashboard with a custom express portal, components really help bring in consistency in that look and feel for what your dashboards look like. So again, instead of having to go down into the deconstructed level, it's simply grabbing a few components and dropping them in place so that you've got uniformity across what your custom person dashboard looks like. And then Katie mentioned earlier in the presentation talking about assignments and cadences as well. So if you're starting to use some of the cadence and assignment functionality in an express portal, having components there are going to be really useful so that everybody's got the same layout. So everybody has a nice navigable functional field that's branded and has a level of uniformity for navigation in particular. So really, all in all, portal components provide a lot of opportunity, frankly, to predefine look, predefine feel, and predefine functionality for generally faster portal development, for brand consistency, and as Malyn alluded to earlier, for our less technical users, our more end users, to have lots of variable tools in hand that lessen the load on your in-house technical support and design teams so that they can still have a lot of functionality and usability to create, edit, add portal functionality really across the board with a little less technical knowledge and necessity. So with that, we can jump into any questions that we may have.